Hello, Serge here from the Backyard Driving Range. We have a question that came in, and this one comes from, I guess it's Dr. Terry with the number 1 after it. And he signs it Terry Striano. And Dr. Terry says, is the ball, or asks, he says, is the ball in a straight line with the target? If so, the body would naturally be lined parallel left of the target. Please clear this up so I can understand what correct alignment is. Okay, Dr. Terry, let's go ahead and see if we can't straighten this out. For that, I'm going to get my alignment arrows right here, which is 3 arrows connected. The main arrow here is the ball position one, and the other 2 sit in to have slots in it, and they're all cut in, so I know everything is at right angles. So the 2 things we have to identify here is that your question, Terry, is the ball in a straight line with the target? Okay? Now, yes, when I'm trying to hit a relatively straight shot, it is in a straight line with the target. So I'm going to try to set this up and make sure that it is pretty much dead on the camera. So it's just a little right there. Still a little right. As you can see, I'm sort of plumb bobbing it to try to get it on there. Okay, right now, according to my club plumb bob, the whole line is completely covered by the shaft, and the camera is covered by the shaft, the camera lens. So this is pretty much as dead on straight as I can get it. Now we also got to remember, sometimes camera lenses can warp something. So in reality, I guarantee it's straight, but maybe it looks a little off of the camera. But when you're trying to hit a relatively straight shot, and according to the peak performance swing, set up and swing, we know that for your arms to swing in front of your body and come back to dead straight, looking at it from this position, where impact will be hit or made, the palms are perpendicular to the ground, and they're in what I call the 3-dimensional perpendicular relationship at that point, meaning that at this point the palms are perpendicular to the ground, perpendicular to my body, and if I'm lining up dead parallel left of my target line, they're also perpendicular to the aiming line. Okay, so that's what we want to get with impact. So as long as I'm hitting the ball relatively straight, these lines will be there, and that line will be pointing at the target. Now, as I've talked about in the past, when we're trying to line up, and alignment is critical. That's why I have, every time I see a good question on alignment, I'm going to answer it, because why? What's the surgism for alignment? 90 to 95% of all swing problems arise out of alignment. So it's pretty darn important. And the better and more consistent your swing becomes, the more important it is to pay attention to it, because why? When your swing doesn't break down, if you're misaligned, you're going to hit the ball to the wrong place. Now, again, as I said, as long as you're trying to hit the ball straight, the aiming line is directly to where you want the ball to go. But what about if you intentionally, for whatever reason, want to draw a ball into the target or fade a ball into a target? Or the other side of the coin would be, what if you're playing in the wind, and the wind is blowing pretty hard from right to left or left to right, and you still want to hit a straight shot, but you're going to let the wind, and you know the wind's going to blow it to the left. So if you started at the flag, it's going to end up left. Okay, so if you wanted the ball to end up at the flag, you have to, in a right to left wind here, you would have to lead it by hitting it out towards the right. So at that point, we're not going to call your target the target line anymore. It's going to become your aiming line. Because say I want the ball to draw to the flag, whether it be I'm intentionally doing it or the wind's going to do it. Well, once I determine how far right of the target I have to start it, I now have to move this line. I have to move this line out to the right a little bit, and then I stand in here. All the same principles: the toes, knees, hips, shoulders, and eyes, parallel to my aiming line, or we could call it our starting point, all right, or our starting target if you want to do that. But so we don't get them mixed up, I like to say target line is for at the target straight. Aiming line is when this curve involved, whether I'm doing it intentionally or the wind, the conditions, the wind's going to do it. So if I had to figure I had to aim it, I'm playing in a pretty big strong wind, right to left, and I say figuring it's going to probably blow it at least 15 yards, then I would be starting this 15 yards right of my target. I would find my spot out here and make sure this is aimed at that spot. Then I would come in here and set up perfectly square to everything and just swing and hit the ball right to that target out there, and the ball starts on that aiming line. I'd hit it right down to my aiming line, and if I calculated the wind correct and it keeps blowing like not sitting down, because then that's one of the things about when you're playing the wind. If it's gusting a lot, sometimes you hit a ball out there and the wind dies right as your ball gets up in the air, and poof, it doesn't hook enough, or if at all, and ends up you're in the right bunker instead of on the green. But if the wind blows, that wind should blow it right back to your target. So the key is aiming line, target line is where you want the ball to start. All right? For your aiming line, where you want to start to end up at your target. Target line is when everything's nice and straight, and where it starts is where it finishes, and that's why you started at the target, because it's going to be a relatively straight shot there. Okay? So hopefully you understand this, and this works out, clears up those thoughts in your mind, and clears it up for everybody. But I'm glad you bring it up, because alignment is a critical issue. See, right now I'm checking that out, and that's still to the right of the camera. So I got to get this up and keep moving until it gets on the camera, and there it is. It's back on the camera. Okay? So that's why it's important to check your spots. You see a lot of players plumb bob it, because it's real easy to pick a spot out there and you think it's on the target, or on your target line, or your aiming line, whichever one you're using, and it could be an inch or two off. And you know what I say, 3 feet in front of the ball, 1 inch off is 10 yards every 100 yards. So that's why you got to check this out, and that's why you find the best thing to always do is just check out and run your target line with your shaft all the way to the target to make sure your spot is correct. Okay? Well, that's it for the search for today on knowing the difference of aiming line and target line. But whatever it is you're always parallel left to where you want to start your golf ball. Okay? That's it for the search, and I'll be talking to you all soon.